Oh yeah, it's that time again. If you guys know anything about me, you know I am a huge Miami Heat fan, and this year is no different. We're rocking white. Good luck to the Miami Heat in the playoffs. Let's make a good run. I don't know if we'll win against the Brooklyn Nets, but good luck as always. And remember guys, stay winning. Alrighty fanboys and fangirls, we have some more information on the Google Pixel 6a as we now have reported benchmark scores showing off the Pixel 6a's performance. We'll talk all about that and also the FCC listing targeting a May launch date. We'll talk all about the Pixel 6a in today's episode. And lastly, there's an update on the MacBook Air and the position that Apple will be taking with that laptop, but it also could be some slightly bad news, but hear me out on this one. All that on today's episode, so don't go anywhere. Turn the dial up to 4K or 1440p, whichever one you want, because Tech Noise starts right now. So the first story, the main story of the day, the Google Pixel 6a. Now, according to several reports, we've already talked in the past that the Pixel 6a is of course on its way. It is launched and scheduled for Google I/O alongside of the Pixel Watch, although there are some contradicting reports saying that the Pixel Watch has also been pushed, but that the 6a is still scheduled to be released on track. Now, we'll focus on the watch another time, but going to the 6a, we've heard already that it will of course be a follow-up to the Pixel 5a. However, it will retain the Pixel 6 design with a dual camera setup and will have a very nice display. But main features that a lot of people are talking about is the internal specs. Will it have a Tensor chip? Will it have a Qualcomm chip? What chip is it going to have? Well, it seems, according to Android Police, that it is going to have not only the Tensor chip, but it might actually be a slightly different variant of the Tensor chip debuted in the Pixel 6. According to the benchmarks, we could see that the single score is slightly higher, although we could argue it is coming down to software optimization. But also taking a look at the hardware end and seeing that the Tensor chip is almost the same, we could see that it has a slight improvement on the multi-core score based on the benchmark. And once again, they're all very slight different, but they're around the same ballpark. Now, the biggest thing that everybody talks about with the Tensor chip is, of course, the optimization, the ability to get the updates faster, to be more linked with Google's hardware. Now, if the 6a gets the Tensor chip, that's going to be a huge boost in not only performance, longevity, but also in terms of reliability, in my opinion, because we've seen what the Tensor chip can do on the Pixel 6. Now we're going to find out what it can do on a budget end device, and we can actually see if this thing is going to up the quality in terms of the performance, or if it's going to make it more of a multitask different mid-range, which might actually be very scary and could undercut the Pixel 6, unless of course you go with the Pixel 6 Pro. But also taking a look further, we also see that the FCC listing has dated a May launch. It has pulled up in the FCC listings, and it looks like it's targeting a May release date. Now, usually, according to my memory, if it serves me correctly, usually Google I/O is around June, maybe even mid-May, June. Again, it's been a while since I've followed Google I/O, but a lot of people do say that it may just launch before I/O, before the launch of Android 13, as they're saying this phone will launch with Android 12. Now, I can understand if they're gonna launch it before or after, because obviously Android 13 is nowhere near ready, and it hasn't even been released to the public, although we do have some hints in the beta codes, which I've already covered. So focusing on the 6a for a second, is it smart for them to do it before the event or after the event? That really remains a question and up to Google. But if it was me, and this is my last thoughts on it, then we're gonna move on. If it was me in the situation where I had to choose which timing to release it, I would launch it at Google I/O, because you have so many people watching, you got tons of viewers, there's a lot of momentum going into the event anyway for Android 13. So I would just release it alongside, and then of course, say it will get Android 13 later. So that's just my 2 cents. Comment your thoughts down below. Let me know, what do you think of the Pixel 6a? Alrighty, real quickly before we get to the last story, want to give this quick shout out, of course, to our mid-sponsor of the video, and of course, once again, it is Rogue Energy. Once again, guys, I am telling you, you must try out Rogue Energy. It is delicious, it is safe, natural, alternative energy drink for your body. It is great full of vitamins, caffeines, and sugar-free. These are my 2 personal recommendations for the month of April. We have blue raspberry and black cherry. Check it out at rogueenergy.com. Find your next favorite flavor and use the promo code TECHNOID to save 10% off. Link in the description. Now we've talked about that, let's get to the final story. And last story to final story, the new MacBook Air. Now, as you know, we've heard reports that the MacBook Air is going to be released at either WWDC, according to the reports, or it will be relaunched in September, October. Now, depending on which way Apple positions this, we already know that it is going to be a redesigned Mac. It will have the notch, but with no black bezel, which is going to make it look even uglier. At least the MacBook Pro kind of helps blend with mini LEDs. But now we're hearing reports saying that it may not ship with the M2 chip, and instead it will launch with the M1, which I don't understand, because the reports also say that the low-end MacBook Pro is getting the M2 chip, but why wouldn't the refreshed MacBook Air get it? And this comes down to apparently this positioning that Apple wants to structure. So they want to structure their Mac lineup in a variety. They want to give people a great computer, but at home at a low cost, but then also offer a better performing version in the Pro, the budget end, with the M2 chip and the cooling fans, but make that more of a desktop-like Pro experience. But that makes no sense, because then you have the higher-end MacBook Pros, and then you've got the Mac Mini, which is reported to get the M2 chip. So I don't understand why they can't just put the M2 chip in all of the devices that are supposed to be lower end. It will not only improve the performance, but it'll improve battery life and improve stability. Now, personally, I don't really believe this report. I personally think that Apple will just end up putting the M2 chip in the MacBook Air, because it makes sense. Why would you put the older chip in a redesigned model? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm gonna just say, take this story with a grain of salt, because we don't know exactly what's going on. But I would say the M2 chip is probably going to be in that computer, because there's no way they would release a redesign with older hardware. And that's for today's episode of TechNoid. Now, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, you can hit the dislike button to help circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all on the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care, stay safe, have a good day, and peace!